This entitled mum demands her entire town to become vegan. But what happens when she steals her neighbor's cat food because it contains fish? This neighbor must put a stop to her evil ways. Happy birthday if today's your birthday, and on with the revamped show. So there is this insane vegan Karen in our neighborhood who harasses people at the supermarket for using animal products and meat. I'm fine with being vegan, but just don't force others to do the same. Well, that's exactly what this Karen has decided to do. In her family, she has 2 kids, 18 male and 19 female, and her husband, who were all forced to eat vegan food since they were 8. All of them hate eating her lame excuse of food that's served every night, to the point that the father constantly fakes anything to get the kids and eat anything but the vegan food. Seriously, some vegan food can taste good, but she constantly butchers it. That is also why the siblings are constantly at my house eating steak and other non-vegan foods that are strictly banned in their household. Anyways, I have a cat. His name is Toby and he's my best friend. His diet consists of store-bought cat food, with meat, duh. And whenever I go fishing, I take him along, and the fish I catch is also his food, so he eats what normal cats like to eat. So last week, the Karen who cannot fathom the fact that her kids are fully grown adults forced them to go hiking with her. Fair enough, because we live in a very rural area with great outdoor activities. On that same day, I decided to take my cat fishing, so I grabbed my fishing gear and headed down to a nice place to fish, while he followed me. Now this is when we see the Karen. She is hiking in my direction and sees my fishing pole and begins to lecture me. So I kinda ignore her and head down to the fishing area and set up my stuff. But no, she follows me down and continues to lecture me and harass me, but I made it clear that I really don't care. After 3 minutes of her lecturing me, she suddenly stops and walks away. Maybe she had better things to do, I don't know. So I continue fishing for another hour until my cat and I are satisfied, and we return home to see that Karen was leaving my house with all my cat food and was seconds from emptying it all into the trash can. To be fair, it was on my porch, an Amazon delivery. What do you think you are doing? I'm saving your cat from dying eating these disgusting foods. That's my package, give it back. No! Empties the contents into the trash can. What the heck, Karen? That's my cat's food. You have no right to just throw it away. Then she gestures for me to hand her my fish box. My Toby and I's dinner. Heck no, that's our dinner. You owe me 20 bucks. No. Give me the poor animal you killed, and we need to be respectful and bury them. No, now go away before I call the police. You literally threw away my property without asking. Then this entitled mother tries to grab my fish container, but fails to because I'm twice her size. Fine, go ahead, eat those poor dead animals. You should be ashamed of yourself. You must feed your cat vegan cat food. I don't know if you know this, but cats cannot go without meat. They are meat-eating animals. No, they're not. They just don't know what vegan food tastes like. She then storms off, and I think that's the end of it. But oh boy was I wrong. 3 days later, she comes to my house demanding $50. I ask why, but she just bursts into my house. I have some healthy vegan food. Psst, 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 psst. I think that's how that's pronounced. My cat comes running over and seems interested, not knowing it's vegan food. Then she rips open the bag and pours some into his cat bowl, and he gladly takes a bite. Then he runs outside and pukes all over the lawn. Don't ask me how or why he knew to do that. Look, he just needs to get used to it. In fact, you're not a good cat owner. I'm taking custody of this cat. But before she can even touch my cat, who is still puking outside, I grab her by the arm and drag her outside while she is hurling insults at me and screaming like a Karen doing the demonic scream. People go vegan for all sorts of reasons, whether it's personal health reasons or for moral reasons. But that doesn't give you the right to lord it over everyone else and pretend that you're somehow better than them, just because you don't eat meat. Do you know what people care about a lot more than your dietary preferences? Whether you are a kind neighbor or not. And doing things like this is definitely not kind. And if you're trying to win people over to your position, you're doing a terrible job at it. You're only going to push more people away. I've been living with my parents since the virus started, and we are lucky enough to have a pool to decontaminate in. My parents left on a road trip together for the weekend, leaving me at home with my cat for some much needed downtime. It's important to note that while there are Karens in my neighborhood, they are not named Karen. Ironically, my nicest neighbors are named Karen. So for the sake of the story, the entitled mum will be called Deborah, or EM. In my neighborhood, everyone shares a wall with someone. Like how some have fences, this lovely Saturday was hot at over 105 degrees and is one of the cooler days we've had this summer, so a lot of houses were having parties in their backyard. Most of them are just families enjoying their pools and yards. I am no exception. I pumped up my pool float, which looks like a beer stein, brought out my Wonder Boom, and was just floating and enjoying the tanning session. I work from home and we have had construction on our yard, so it's been a hectic week. I'm playing my summer playlist, listening to other families scream, splash, and play their own music on their sound systems. About an hour or so later is when things go downhill. I'm laying on my stomach to get rays on my back when I hear screaming. Not the typical kid screaming joyfully. No, it was a woman. One of the sound systems gets turned low, but others are still playing their music, including me. I hear more screaming, but this time it's closer to me. I'm going in and out of sleep and could care less while I'm listening to Smash Mouth, when suddenly I hear splashes next to me. I thought it was the pool motor, so I ignored it. More splashes, and then I'm hit. I thought I got attacked by a bird and fell off my float into the water, terrified. Once I got out, I noticed sandals and full bottles of water in my pool. Deborah is screaming on her side of the wall for me to come over. This tall, lanky blonde that looks like her brains were used for lip fillers is screaming at me. I'm ticked. What the heck is wrong with you? Why would you throw your crap into my pool? Were you trying to hit me?
Well, someone is finally awake. I need you to turn off your music. My kids are trying to sleep.
Me picking up her stuff from my pool. It's noon on a Saturday. I'm trying to enjoy my weekend like anyone else, and you hit me? Are you out of your ducking mind?
I need you to shut off your music. It's so loud and you're being disrespectful to your neighbors. Don't you have any manners?
I do. Enough to know not to duck and throw things at people like a lunatic. Oh, and it's my yard. I can play my music without your permission, ma'am. You might have better luck if you check into a retirement home. She looked like she could be in her 80s, but with enough plastic surgery and in the right light, could pass for my parents' age. Even then, I've seen her kids, and I can tell you with certainty they were in their 30s. Other families are watching us. The kids are getting ushered inside by their mums, and some of the guys are just watching the fight with Bruce. I turn to the men. Did she tell you guys to turn down your music? I did, but only to hear what she was going on about. She told me to turn off, but I'm not doing it. It's my yard. Also, do you need a lawyer? I'm pretty sure what she did was assault.
I didn't assault her, and you need to turn down your music or I'll alert the HOA.
I couldn't help it. I burst out laughing. The other guy started laughing too. You kidding me? We don't have a homeowner association. I can call the cops and have them here to check the security footage of the assault though, if you want. I don't have security cameras in my backyard, but she didn't know that.
Just give me my stuff, you stupid brat. I know my rights.
Actually, my rights say I can keep your stuff since you threw them into my yard. You discarded them and are now on my property. Tell you what, I'm going to throw your stuff into your yard and you can leave us all alone. I won't press charges and you can keep living here without ticking off the rest of the people living next to you. We don't play music after 11 PM per city ordinances, and that's really the only law we have to abide by with the local police. You don't have a leg to stand on. It's true. When my parents and I finally moved to this house we've owned for 20 years, we looked up all the rules and laws associated with our neighbors. Everyone in the neighborhood stays in their own lane and never go out of their way to disturb others. It's an unspoken rule. Deborah, now red in the face.
Fine, just give them back now.
I told her to stand back and threw her stuff over the wall, aiming for her trees. Some of her precious sandals got caught in the tree branches. Everyone just laughed at her, trying to get her stuff out of the trees, and we blasted our music. I just got into the house, somewhat sunburnt but very satisfied. One of the guys next door came to the door with his mask on and told me he had a video of the confrontation from start to finish. I asked him to hold on to it in case other things happened and to send my parents the copy of the footage. Since my parents are the homeowners, I figured they should be in the loop. I don't know if Deborah and her family will try more things in the future, especially since we are still renovating our yard, but it'll be good to keep track just in case. Update: her son just came over to apologize for his mother. He's actually a really nice guy and wanted to hear my side of the story. He was napping and didn't hear anything that was happening. Their house is soundproofed inside, so he did not hear about what happened until Deborah told him an exaggerated story involving me threatening to call the police and egging the neighbors to form a violent mob. She made it sound like I was a deviant looking to run her family out of the town. Apparently, Deborah has used him and his sister as an excuse for her to control the neighborhoods they've lived in all their lives. The son, his wife, and their 3 kids moved to this neighborhood less than a year ago, and Deborah has only started living with them as of the start of the virus. I could not imagine growing up my entire life with my parents just using me to control other people, because the sad thing is, you probably wouldn't notice it until your adulthood. You would just think it's normal. I mean, how can you know differently until you're old enough to see the difference? Her request wouldn't have been unreasonable if it was the middle of the night and people are trying to sleep. But if it's summer during a weekend in the middle of the day, of course people are going to want to play loud music and just enjoy their time outside. In the cast, me, brother B, my dad D, new friend NF, entitled kid EK, entitled kids goons EKG, and entitled dad ED. So a little backstory. My dad is South African but moved to Australia at the age of 25. So he has a weird hybrid accent. The Dutch Aussie accent can come across as intimidating for some because he has a deep voice. Dad is a rough character and has a straightforward tell you how it is attitude. He also taught my brother and I not to start fights and only to finish them. One year, my family decided to go to a caravan park for a little weekend away during school holidays. At this caravan park, there was a jumping pillow. Search up pictures for reference. After setting up our campsite, my brother and I decided we'd hop on our bikes to go see the jumping pillow. Upon arriving, we see a kid picking up his bike, NF, and he calls out to us.
Hey, you guys going to the jumping pillow?
Yeah, why is it not working?
It is, but there's a group there, and they told me that it was theirs, and to get lost or they would beat me.
Well, come play with us. They won't trouble us if we're in a group ourselves. NF agrees and we put our bikes down and start jumping. EK and his goons are sitting down on the other side while we try and do front flips and just have fun. Suddenly, EK slaps his hands onto the jumping pillow and stands up quickly as if he's had enough.
You cannot jump. We're trying to sit.
EK looked to be about my brother's age at the time, 11, and similar in size. It's a jumping pillow though.
Well, we were here first and we already told that idiot,
points to NF,
to get lost.
My brother then scoffs at him and keeps jumping.
Stop jumping!
My brother stops and looks at him. Bounce, bounce, bounce. EK starts then marching over and tries to hit my brother. He gets hit in the stomach, so in what felt like slow motion, retaliates with a hit to EK's jaw. A brawl broke out with my brother, NF and I, taking on EK and his goons. My brother started chasing after EK and ends up tackling him. As soon as EK copped a few punches, he starts screaming sorry and begging for it to stop. My brother gets off him with their tails between their legs. The entitled group leaves. Satisfied with our victory, we started playing again. We were talking to NF and he turned out to be quite a nice guy. He was an only child, so he was glad when he had someone to play with. We decided that we should all go to the pool to play, as it was a hot day. We each go back to change into our swimmers and head for the pool. While at the pool, EK's dad came over.
Your kid beat up mine just because they were playing.
Doesn't sound like my kids to start fights, but what happened? ED then starts telling my dad a one-sided story about how we wanted it for ourselves and that we attacked them for no reason. He asks to speak to us and my dad tells him that we're at the pool and when we get back to explain our side. Fast forward a little to when we're back, showered and changed. Dad starts cooking a barbecue while my brothers and I are still chilling, NF playing on our Nintendo DS. ED marches over with EK in pursuit.
That's them! You two beat my son for no reason. I demand an apology.
Your son deserves it. He hit me first.
BS. He wouldn't hit anyone.
My dad cuts in. Well, what happened then? My brother, NF, and I proceed to tell our side of the story, while EK stays quiet and even looks a little embarrassed. After finishing our story, ED looks enraged, even going red.
That's a lie. It didn't happen like that.
My dad looks at us and then at EK and ED. Well, if my kids have to apologize, are you going to make yours?
No, because your sons.
My dad cuts him off then. Oh well, get lost then. ED looking visibly shocked.
What?
You heard me. Get lost. Don't bring your crap up to my side unless it's got merit. If you won't make your kids apologize, I won't make mine. So get lost. ED looks distraught. He grabs EK and they march off to whatever pit they came from. It baffles the mind how so many entitled parents can think that their child could do no wrong. I know it's the opposite for some kids, and their parents think that they are responsible for everything wrong in the world. Perhaps, just maybe, the answer is somewhere in the middle. Maybe sometimes they're responsible for things, and sometimes they're not. That worldview is probably a bit too crazy for an entitled parent. Submit your story to be read on the channel at VoiceyHereStories@gmail.com and join our Voicey veteran community at r/VoiceyHere. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell to never miss an episode. Alright, Voicey veterans, I'll see you in the next one.